When you think of a rock star, you probably imagine loud concerts, chaos on stage, and guitars getting smashed into pieces. But that's actually part of their job. What happens when the stage lights turn off and the crowd goes home? Behind the leather jackets and the wall of electric guitars, many rock stars live surprisingly different life you would never expect.
In fact, many of them spend their free time in ways that are quiet, disciplined, and even deeply nerdy. Today we're going inside the private world of 6 rock icons to look at the unexpected hobbies that might completely change the way you see your favorite musicians.
And let's start with one of the biggest names in metal music, James Hetfield. Heavy riffs, aggressive sound, massive stadium shows. For decades he's been one of the most recognizable figures in rock music. But when he steps off the tour bus, his world looks remarkably different. One of his most unexpected and beloved hobbies is raising bees. He first started beekeeping around 2012 after moving his family to the quiet mountains of Colorado. For James, this isn't a casual way to pass the time. It has become a way to deal with stress and stay grounded while fighting alcohol addiction. It's a way to drown out the noise of the music industry with the gentle natural hum of nature. Every year, his hives produce around 230 kilograms of honey, and instead of turning it into a commercial brand, he chooses to share the harvest with his friends and neighbors. But Hetfield doesn't stop with the bees. If he isn't in a field with his hives, you will almost certainly find him in his garage. He has a deep lifelong passion for restoring and building custom cars from the ground up. He doesn't just collect them, he understands their mechanics. His collection, titled Reclaimed Rust, features machines like the Black Pearl and the Voodoo Priest. For James, it's another form of creation, just like music. Hetfield also likes hunting and fishing. He collects weapons, which reflects that connection to the outdoors and a more rugged lifestyle. During COVID, Hetfield started making his own furniture like coffee tables made from reclaimed materials. All the money from that work he donated to charity. Whether he is welding a chassis or tending to a queen bee, James is a man who needs to create things with his hands to keep his mind at peace. It seems that a life full of noise and pressure needs something quiet and real to keep it all in balance.
The next rock star on our list actually shares a few interests with James Hetfield, but I wouldn't say he was ever looking for balance. In his younger years he was mostly looking for chaos. I'm talking about the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy has always been one of the most unpredictable figures in rock history. At one point he said, "I don't have any hobbies, I don't collect stamps, I don't like raising flowers on a farm, I only collect empty beer bottles, I'm already drunk." While that sounds exactly like Ozzy we all know and love, if you look a little closer at his life at home, it turns out that wasn't entirely true. For years, Ozzy owned a massive ranch where he spent his days caring for animals and flowers. Much like James Hetfield, Ozzy also had a fascination with weapons and spent a significant amount of time shooting targets in his backyard. He even enjoyed the process of making the targets himself. He often described the repetition of shooting as a way to clear his head, a different kind of meditation for a man whose mind was always racing. But perhaps his most visual hobby was his love for custom motorcycles. His collection features some truly legendary bikes, including custom chopper with extended front forks, a Gothic cross-shaped gas tank, spider-web-like details, and even a crocodile leather seat. Every detail emphasized his unique style and turned the motorcycle into something more than just a machine. Ozzy even had a podcast where he discussed paranormal theories and conspiracies that fit his Prince of Darkness persona perfectly.
While some rock stars find their escape in the garage or the backyard, others take their passion into a completely different dimension. Brian May.
Most people know Brian May as the legendary guitarist of Queen, the man who built his own guitar out of an old fireplace. But Brian is also a literal doctor of the stars. He studied physics and mathematics and even started working on his PhD long before Queen became successful. But when the band took off, he had to put that part of his life on hold. Most people would probably leave it at all, but he didn't. In 2007, Brian May returned to science and completed his doctorate in astrophysics. His research focused on interplanetary dust and how light behaves across space. He even helped NASA return its first asteroid sample. Using stereoscopic imaging, he helped create 3D views that allowed the team to identify a safe landing site and successfully collect a sample. Speaking about asteroid, Brian May has an asteroid named after him. Somewhere in space you can find asteroid 52665 Brian May. And in 2016, he announced an asteroid 17473, discovered in 1981, named Freddie Mercury, to honor his 70th birthday. And science isn't the only thing that occupies his time outside of music. Brian May also collects watches and antiques, things with history and character behind them. He's a strong supporter of animal rights, actively working to protect wildlife. And beyond that, he writes books, sharing his knowledge and ideas with a much wider audience. He proves that you can be a rock legend and a man of science at the exact same time.
While some explore the universe, others prefer more active lifestyle. And one of the best examples of that is Slash.
Slash is more than just a guitarist. He is a global icon. The top hat, the curls, and the way he slumps over his Les Paul are burned into the memory of every rock fan. But long before he was a member of Guns N' Roses, Slash was fascinated by BMX racing. As a teenager in California, he was a competitive BMX rider who placed in national events and seriously considered making it his career before the guitar finally won him over. As a child, he was obsessed with dinosaurs and reptiles, and as soon as he had the space and the money, he turned his home into a literal zoo. At one point, Slash shared his house with nearly 100 snakes, lizards, and even a few crocodiles. He became a major supporter of the Los Angeles Zoo and has spent decades advocating for the protection of wildlife around the world. Now, except of traditional rock hobbies like collecting guitars or cars, Slash spends his time playing pinball. He even has a separate room filled with pinball machines. Slash discovered pinball in the early 90s. At first, it was just something to pass the time, but he quickly got deeper into learning the mechanics, the design, and how each machine works. Games like The Addams Family, Jurassic Park, and Funhouse became some of his favorites. He even collaborated on the design of the official Guns N' Roses pinball machine, making sure it captured the energy of the band. It's something that helps him slow down and recover after long tours.
Slash lives in the energy of rock and roll, but some rock stars find their balance in something much calmer. For example, Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper is the godfather of shock rock. He brought horror and theatrical gore to the mainstream, but if you were to look for Alice on a Tuesday morning, you wouldn't find him in a dark basement. You would find him on a golf course. For Alice, golf was much more than just a game. It was a literal lifesaver. In the early 80s, his struggle with addictions had reached a dangerous point. When he finally got sober, he realized he needed to replace his old habits with a positive addiction, something that could occupy his mind and his body without destroying him. He plays with friends, with other celebrities, and even takes part in tournaments. He even wrote an autobiography titled Alice Cooper, Golf Monster, where he explains how the discipline and focus required for golf helped him maintain his sobriety for over 40 years. And during COVID-19 pandemic, he returned to another childhood passion – painting. He produced over 20 surrealist works during the lockdown. Cooper studied art in college before his music career took off. He enjoys painting because there are no boundaries and it's a creative outlet where he doesn't have to answer to anyone.
As you can see, creativity doesn't leave artists even when they step off stage. And sometimes that creativity turns into something you can actually build piece by piece. Neil Young.
Neil Young is known for his raw emotional songwriting and his status as the godfather of grunge. But in the world of model railroading, he is known as the revolutionary inventor. Neil Young is a passionate model train enthusiast and part owner of Lionel Company who revolutionized the hobby by inventing wireless control system for trains in the 90s. His love for trains began when he received his first set at age 5. Years later, the hobby was a way to share a passion with his son. Young designed the Big Red Button, remote control system for Lionel trains that allows realistic operations. Later, the company released the Neil Young signature line, blending classic designs with high-tech control systems. On his California ranch, Young built a 3,000-square-foot building dedicated entirely to a massive all-gauge layout. His layout was famous for using natural materials like redwood stumps and live plants. In 2017, he auctioned off a huge portion of his collection, raising nearly $300,000 for the Bridge School, which helps children with severe physical and speech impairments. For Neil, the trains were never just toys. They were a way to build a bridge to the people he loves most.
Behind the loud music, the massive stages, and the images we see on our screens, there is always something more. These legends aren't just one-dimensional characters. There are people who need balance, quiet, and a sense of purpose outside of their work. And honestly, I think we're all a bit like that.
For me, when I'm not making these videos, I find my balance in composing music, collecting records or books, and even building Lego sets. These things are a huge part of my personality, and they help me stay creative when life gets a bit too crazy.
Share your hobbies in the comments, I'd like to know what your thing is. Thanks for watching and good luck!